here at Long Tan, and in August 1966 Australia fought their most famous action of the war at Long Tan, and we're going to walk the ground today. Tuan and I are going to explore the battlefields. That mountain behind us there, that's Nui Dat 2. That's where the battle was fought. So this is the big dam that was not here during the war, but we're going to start our walk. We're going to explore the battlefield of Long Tan and see what we can find. It's going to be a good day.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
The battle began on the afternoon of the 18th of August when Delta Company of the 6th Battalion Royal Australian Regiment went out to try and find a source of some enemy mortar positions and ran into a huge force, up to potentially 2,000 Viet Cong troops. So it was a very large contact engagement that took place, and right now I'm walking out to where the battle took place. We've just come past the dam. As I said, it wasn't there during the war. It's now a bit of an obstacle, but we're walking effectively in the footsteps of Delta Company 6 RAR now out towards the battlefield. I just noticed something cool looking at my poor tired old hiking shoes, and that grey dust on them is from Gallipoli, where I was last week. So there's something pretty special about walking through the red dirt of Long Tan with shoes that only last week were walking through the mud at Gallipoli. A nice bookend to two very important chapters of Anzac history. This is the scene of the first shots that were fired during the Battle of Long Tan. This road was being crossed by the Australians. They were coming from this way over into the rubber over here. And they were crossing by platoons. Bob Buick, a sergeant in 11 platoon, had just stepped out onto the road when, to his right, he saw a VC patrol of maybe 6 or 7 men coming down just over that rise. And so he opened fire and fired 2 shots, which hit the first man, who was then quickly dragged by his mates into the rubber. And those 2 shots were the 2 opening rounds that were fired in the Battle of Long Tan. After that, 11 platoon pursued quickly the Viet Cong as they retreated into the rubber, and that's when the battle began. The rubber plantation is not as thick at the moment as it was in 1966. And it's still pretty eerie walking through these rubber trees, knowing that this is where the Battle of Long Tan unfolded. This is where the fighting was some of its heaviest. We had Australians all around here trying to dig in defence, and thousands of Viet Cong swarming around them on all sides. It's amazing to stand here. As I said, the rubber, it's a bit thicker here than where we first went in. Not quite as thick as it was in 1966, but it's an eerie place. It's small. It's a tiny battlefield. We've just walked across it in 10 minutes. And just the thought that there were thousands of enemies swarming around them here is just terrifying. Just walking around the battlefield, I've come across this innocuous looking piece of metal, which is actually a relic from the fighting. This is a chunk from, this is a shard from a high explosive shell, one of the Australian rounds that did cause such damage amongst the Viet Cong troops. This hill behind me is Nui Dat 2. This was the really the key to the Viet Cong defences. This is where most of their machine guns were set up, and where most of the fire came from that landed on the Australians. But as we've gotten closer to it, it's gotten smaller and smaller. It's actually not a very big hill at all, but it's fairly flat countryside around here, and it tends to dominate. Tuan and I have just made the climb up onto Nui Dat 2, and that hill in the distance is Nui Dat, so that's the entire battlefield laid out behind us. A pretty special spot. Not many people come up here, Tuan?
No, very few. I think I do the tour for 17 years, but today the first time I go together with my dad to come up here.
Well, it's an important point, because this is where the Viet Cong were watching the Australians. I think we're standing on a spot where they would have fired their machine guns from. So this is a crucial part of the battlefield, and once you get up here, you can see the whole Australian area of operations from Nui Dat. The horseshoe is over there, the long high hills. Nui Lay is in this direction. The whole Australian Vietnam War experience is laid out. On the top of Nui Dat 2, we've just come across this hole right on the slope there, and I'm almost certain it's a machine gun position. It's just got a beautiful field of fire, and there's Tuan standing in this hole, which I think almost certainly was a Viet Cong machine gun position on Nui Dat 2. This is of course the focal point on the battlefield after all this time. The Long Tan Cross. It sits near the spot where 11 Platoon had their toughest fight of the battle and where they lost the most casualties.